Are you ever really prepared to give birth? Everyone's birth story is unique. We can prepare for things like hospital bags and childcare plans, but the actual labor and delivery of our baby is definitely beyond our control. No one plans for an emergency C-section. So today we're talking about our labor and delivery stories and what helped us prepare for it. Sometimes hearing other people's experiences can mentally prepare you for the unexpected. Grab your drinks, pop in those earphones, especially if you have little ears around, and let's dive right into episode 61.
Cheers!
Ladies, so how was your labor and delivery with your first baby?
My first one was pretty intense for what I was expecting it to be. But
you expected it to be?
Yeah, you know, like you just kind of hear all the stories of like
More stories that everyone tells you.
But then like I was expecting my water to break and all that, and that didn't happen. So I was feeling the pains, and then, you know, like you call them to tell them because it's your first one, so you don't know. Like you just know you're supposed to call and whatever. And I remember calling and telling them I'm having contractions. They're this far apart, and the lady's like, "Oh, you probably won't. You're just in active labor. You'll probably come in tomorrow." And it was probably like 11 p.m. at night. And so I'm like, no way I'm going through the whole night, you know, like feeling this.
Oh, you were already feeling the pain?
Yeah, and she's like, call back in like 3 hours if they're closer. And I was telling my husband, like, dude, I'm going to call in 1 hour and just tell her they're closer. Yeah. Like, even if they're not closer, I'm just going to tell them they are. So I called an hour later. They said, come to the hospital. And I went and checked in. And, you know, they set you up in the room to, like, check if you are. Or, you know, they check the blood or whatever. But because my water hadn't broke, like, I don't know if I was peeing every time, but, like, I was wet.
She said she didn't know she was peeing every time.
It was, like, wet down there, but it wasn't, I think every time I had a contraction, like, I, like, peed a little, so they were, like, checking that, and then, the nurse could not find my vein. So that chick...
Fished that needle?
Yeah, like, I had all these bruises on my arm.
When they fish it in there.
And I was already pissed because, like, she's poking me a million times. And she's like, okay, I'm going to try one more time. If not, like, I'm just going to get someone else. And I was like, just go get someone else. Like, my husband was like, dude, I've never seen you like that before. Like, I had no filter. Like, I didn't care. I would just yell at them. And even at him, I felt so bad because he was like, I'm texting your mom that, you know, we're at the hospital and she's telling me to, like, rub your back. So every time he rubbed my back, like, when I was having a contraction, it felt good. But when he would keep rubbing it and I wasn't having a contraction, I remember, like, stop, you're gonna make me have a contraction. Like, I was so evil. Like, and I remember even the nurses were like, the other people can hear me. And they were like, oh, we'll get you the epidural. Like, there's a line. Like, there's a bunch of people here that need the epidural too. They had to push him to me because... It was that bad.
They moved you up?
Yeah, they moved
you have them move you up. You were in there causing that much ruckus.
I was like, evil. It was
go to
so
this
bad.
room first.
Yeah, and that's how my
So, was your delivery before or after the due date?
He was due February 15th, but he came on the 10th. So we were in there, like, that night, on the 9th. Well, it was already past midnight, but... He was early.
And okay.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the same day I got my membrane sweep that morning. And he came that night.
When we had that episode on the show, right, about that membrane sweep. And how Adam was
that, so I could link it.
No, there was Adam was saying, like, something about that doctor came in and just sweeped her. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what episode that was.
I think that was our last Q&A, maybe.
We'll link it.
The last pregnancy episode.
How many hours would you say that you were in the hospital before you gave birth?
We were admitted at like 3 a.m. and he was born at 7:26 a.m. So like 4-ish.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
No.
And how long did you push?
Like 3 pushes.
What?
But I don't feel anything, you know.
What
so
the fuck?
I didn't have to push at all, but 3 pushes sounds. Yeah.
Even Levi was like Blood push, yeah.
No, I was just
He
kidding.
came
One
out.
and a half.
She's like, don't laugh, because I was laughing. You know when you have the epidural, you don't feel anything. And I was laughing, and the nurse or the doctor said, don't laugh, because he just flew out. Levi didn't.
Gosh, you're lucky.
So yeah,
Good
Landon
for you.
came out pretty fast.
And so you couldn't feel anything. So like your pushing and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Like it was relaxed. You would say.
Yeah, I mean, prior, like they give you the epidural. Well, I don't know if you guys know, but they give you the epidural, and you don't feel anything.
Feel numb.
And I remember laying there, and they're like, "Oh, we just gotta wait. Like, you gotta wait X amount of time before, like, we're waiting for the baby to be ready to come out, right?" So I remember laying there, just hanging out with my husband, and I'm like, "Dude, I feel like something just came out. Like, there's like a sense of, like, I felt like a ball came out."
I delivered my baby.
Yeah, and I told him, I was like, "Babe, can you tell the nurse to come look?"
What's down
Yeah,
there?
I think the head just came out. And he's like, I was like, "Look." And he's like, "I'm not going to look." And I was like, "Just lift the blanket up." So he told the nurse. And she came and lifted the blanket. And she's like, "Oh, it was my water sac. It came out whole."
Oh, and you felt it.
I felt like it was like a ball.
Like a water, but like
yeah,
boom.
it was like
Without the baby? Or
No,
is this after?
It was just the water sac before he was born. So that's when she was like, "Oh, we gotta get him out now."
Oh
and I
my
guess there
gosh.
was a feces in it.
Oh,
He had poop in the water sac.
Oh, so they gotta go fast.
So
after that.
she's like, "Let me go
We
get the
gotta get him,
doctor."
yeah.
Yeah, and they came in and they're like, "Okay, push." And and then I remember like all the NICU people came in and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, because I don't think that's common
No,
for
yeah,
them to
no.
come out completely without the baby, right?
And then it's the fact that he
there
had
was poop in
feces it. They had to like hurry up and proceed.
But then it was
Wow.
like, they were like, "Oh, he's fine." And then everything was like normal from
After
there.
that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they want him to ingest it or something that is going on in
know.
there that they gotta get it out
Yeah.
quick.
Did your epidural hurt, or how did it feel?
I remember they tell you to sit super still
And don't
and
fucking
don't
move or you'll
move
be
and don't
paralyzed.
look at the needle, right? Yeah.
You're gonna die.
And I remember right when he was putting the needle in my spine, I had a contraction, so I kind of like twitched,
And it's cold in
my
there.
whole right leg went numb. He's like,
Only?
"You're not supposed to move." I was like, "I had a contraction." Like, I was yelling at him. I was like,
Yeah.
"I was having a contraction. I could not move."
So were
Yeah.
you scared? Did you think
He
you
was just like, "I gotta fix it a little bit." Like, he had to redo it.
Really?
Yeah, because like when I twitched a little from my contraction, it like hit a nerve in my spine.
So did it hurt the second time, or did?
No, I mean, it doesn't hurt. It just feels like a pinch, and then like someone's holding the pinch.
Yeah, it's tightness.
You know what I mean?
You can feel it.
That's a good explanation of it.
That's how it felt to me. But when you talk to my husband, he's like, "Dude, that shit was huge."
Oh, he was in there.
Yeah, then he's.
I
in
guess
the-
nowadays they don't
huge.
allow you to have your husband in there.
Oh really?
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, COVID days or
I thought just like the new
In
process.
general?
Yeah. So did your husband cut the umbilical cord?
Yes,
He did. He wasn't weirded out about it?
No, surprising. He wanted to take pictures of like the baby coming
Everything.
out. I'm like, "No thanks. I don't need my vagina all up in
Would they have let him?
no, but you should have them. Have you seen that process?
It's super cool pictures, but I'm
I don't
surprised that I think some
Life-changing to
doctors
see.
are okay with it. Some doctors are not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
With
because for
cameras in
me,
there?
my mom was the third person in there for Max, and they wouldn't let her videotape until after he came out.
Oh.
So like right when he came out, then
Oh, wow.
They were just
They
like,
let her.
"Oh, you need to hold her leg up this way." Like they had him like helping,
Mhm.
but yeah, he just cut the umbilical cord.
Oh, what about you?
Mm.
Mm.
That's crazy. So for me, mine was like a routine doctor's appointment. Mine was so weird. I was going to the doctor. I was just going to a routine doctor's appointment.
Before your due date? Or
Yes,
after?
way before
Okay.
my due date. Well, not way, but before my due date.
Uh-huh.
I just was going to a routine doctor's appointment. But the night before, I remember like the baby was in there just turning. Like it was like he was in there doing backflips or something. I remember calling my mom like, "What is going on? Like, literally, you can see my stomach, like, rolling and rolling. And she's like, that's crazy. What is he in there doing? I'm like, I don't know, but this is uncomfortable. So I was like, I'm just going to go to sleep. And when I go to the doctor, I'll let them know. So I went to the doctor and I told them, like, oh, last night he was just flipping and turning and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, okay. And they, like, wrote down some stuff. And then they're like, yeah, we want you to go to the hospital. After you leave here, go get something to eat and then go to the hospital and then let them check you out. So I'm like, okay. So me and my mom left there. We went to Jack in the Box. Terribly bad. I ate crazy amounts of food.
Because at this point you still think you're delivering vaginally.
Yes.
And you've heard people say, eat before you go to the hospital because you're not going to be able to eat till you have the babies. Yeah. So it's common.
And the nurse told me to eat a meal before I went to the hospital. Remember that when I go through this story. So I ate. We went to the hospital, me and my mom. At the time, like I mentioned before, me and my husband were really young. We weren't even married at the time. And he was doing his finals at Cal State Fullerton. So I think I kind of text him like, oh, they just want me to go to the doctor. Nothing, still not knowing what's going on. So we go there and they hook me up to a machine. And they're like, every time you feel the baby move, push the button. So every time I felt the baby move, I pushed the button. They got the report back and then they go, oh, you're in labor. We're going to check you in. And I'm like, labor? This is not what they say on the TV. Like, I'm not pulling my hair out. I'm not screaming like, this doesn't feel like labor. And they're like, no, you're in full on labor. You're contracting and everything. And I'm like,
it didn't hurt?
No, I didn't feel like, when I tell you, I felt like not one contraction or what I thought I would feel like, I didn't feel it. Like, there was nothing where I felt like uncomfortable, or besides him turning like that, I didn't feel like, oh my God, you know how they make contractions look on TV or what you hear. So they checked me in. They asked me when was the last time I had a meal. And then I said, oh, I ate Jack in the Box before I came here. And the nurses got so upset. They were like, oh, who's your doctor? Because you are in active labor and we want to deliver this baby, but because you ate, we can't deliver the baby because I guess you can't have food before you have a C-section.
24 hours prior?
I guess so. So whatever I don't remember the exact timeline, but they were like, because I had a meal before I went there, they couldn't do an emergency C-section, which they probably wanted to do, but I had to wait 12 hours until I guess my food digests before they could deliver the baby. But they were like, we're gonna admit you and we're gonna stop your contractions. So they checked me in the hospital. They immediately stopped my contractions. So with my first son, I never felt a contraction. I couldn't tell you what a contraction felt like because they gave me the medication to stop the contraction. So I never felt a contraction with my first baby ever.
Let me tell you, it hurts.
Oh, I felt. mind you, I'm 3 kids in now. I know what a contraction is. So I didn't feel one with the first baby. So they stopped. Is it Pitocin or whatever they give you? Something. Whatever. Don't quote us on this.
Pitocin.
They gave it to me. They stopped the contractions, and then I just kind of had to wait it out. What they were waiting for, they hooked me up. They were monitoring the baby. They were kind of just waiting for my food to digest, but they had already told me that I was going to have a C-section because during all those flips in gymnastics that my oldest son was doing, he turned himself breech. So I know, yes. So I was going to have a C-section. So yeah, I just remember trying to get in touch with my now husband and like figuring out like I didn't have a hospital bag packed, anything, because his due date was due. He was due June 10th and he came May 24th. So I was just literally going for a routine doctor's visit and ended up having him that night, which was crazy. Yeah. And my husband made it literally in the delivery room in the nick of time. My mom suited up. She had her suit on, shoes on and everything. Which I still feel so bad for this to this day because she was all dressed. Her first grandchild. My husband was stuck in traffic coming from his finals because we had texted him like, they're going to deliver the baby. So he's in traffic trying to get there. My mom's suiting up. Like, this is like a movie, and I kid you not. We're in there, and my mom is all proud and everything, and then Dad gets there, and they have to switch. And then Dad's suiting up. I know, and Dad came in, and Dad made it in the nick of time to where they cut me, and they were like literally just bringing baby out, and he made it in time in there. Yeah, like a movie, like just in the nick of time. But I still always feel so bad because
like she got booted.
My mom was suited up in her. I know. So.
And how did the actual C-section feel? Like, how did
you don't feel
you don't feel anything. You don't feel the tugging or anything, or like
you feel the tugging. You feel the tugging, and I know a lot of moms they like C-sections because you can kind of schedule it unless the baby comes on its own, but you kind of schedule it. It's like more of, you're walking into it, you're having your baby, you don't have to go through all the stuff that you would have to go through pushing out. I just think the healing process is totally different. Like it's very hard of a healing process. And then it's just not like you're kind of like strapped down. You don't get to hold your baby when when you guys have your babies vaginally, you get to have that skin to skin contact. Literally, when you have a C-section, they hold your baby to your face. And all you can do is just touch your baby's face like that, and then they take the baby away. You don't get to do the skin to skin. No. The only time I got to do the skin to skin was with my third, which was Harley, because I told the doctor, I'm like, this is my third C-section. I'm like, you guys never let me touch or bond with my baby and do the skin to skin. And I'm like, I want to do this with my little girl. I wanted to do it with my boys, but they wouldn't let me. So I'm like, I asked the doctor, like, please, can you just let me have her right here for a little bit? And they did.
Do you feel like your bond is stronger with your third now?
That girl.
Like, don't even get me started with that girl.
My baby girl. Woo. I do, honestly. I feel like it was what needed to happen, because I would have loved it to happen with my boys, but the fact that the doctor made it happen with my girl, I feel like maybe it was meant to happen with that mother-daughter bond that we needed to have. But that's the only thing that I don't like with C-sections is you just hold the little baby right there, and then they're like,
and then the dad does the skin to skin, or what?
Not even. No,
they
take the baby to get all checked, and then the dad follows them, but you don't get to
be there.
So then, all that how long after do you get to actually hold the baby?
Well, you go to recovery after you have the baby. They go take the baby and do all the tests, and then you go into a room by yourself for at least 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, to recover, to see how you're going to do after, and then someone comes in. So you're still like,
what?
You don't know what's going on with your baby. So it's fortunate that you let the dad go, because I'm always like, follow, see what's going on.
Make sure they don't switch
babies. Yeah, because you're in recovery by yourself, just looking at the ceiling like, No, I'm not even kidding.
Does Dad still cut the umbilical cord?
Yes, they let them cut the umbilical cord. Yeah, they let them cut it. You're just in there looking around by yourself.
So you're by yourself that whole time?
Yes.
For how many hours?
It's literally 45 minutes. It's no shorter than 30 minutes. So it's anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour.
Dude, so you're at the highest of your high adrenaline. Like, I just had a baby, and then you're by yourself,
no,
like a prisoner.
Promise you, yeah.
My God, you're all lonely. You can't
move.
You can't have visitors in there. Like your mom couldn't have gone there.
No, because they're making sure that you don't pass out or you're recovering. They don't let anybody in recovery. Even when you want to go, they're like, she's in recovery. When she's out, then you can see her.
Like, so they're stitching you up or what?
Well, you're just in there and they're monitoring you, make sure you don't have any situations after having the baby.
Yeah.
So you're literally in there. I feel like I remember. I feel like I remember looking up at the ceiling like, oh my God, I just had a baby. It's my second baby. I feel like you're just like going through your life at that time because you're by yourself. By your damn
your life is flashing before your eyes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes, with that being said.
So with my first baby, he came a week before his due date. And he was due December 4th. And then he came November 27th.
Okay.
So.
Wait, does his birthday fall on Thanksgiving?
And he was born on Thanksgiving morning. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And what made me go to the hospital with him was I woke up with a Charlie horse. So I was in bed and I jumped out of bed because your muscle just tightened on my calf. And so I was stretching all big against the wall. And then my husband woke up and was like, are you okay? Is it time? And I was like, no, I'm fine. It's just a Charlie horse. Go back to sleep. So then he went back to sleep and then I laid down. And as soon as I laid down, I started feeling burning in my abdomen area. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe I have gas because gas like
goes
it burns.
with
the burning, it goes hand in hand. So I couldn't fart, so then I was like, and it was like constant, and then it would go away, and then it would come back. So then I started timing it, and then I woke up my husband, and I was like, maybe we should time this. So he timed it, and then, but it didn't feel like how you guys say, like in the movies, or hearing other people's story, they're like, oh, it's like period cramps. Like this was like gas burn. It didn't feel like a period cramping or like what you think of like a muscle contracting. And so, but we timed it and they were pretty close together. So we woke up my mom at the time we were living at her house, and we woke her up, and then so she came and she drove us, and I was like trembling, like I was freaking scared, you know? And so then we went in there, and then they laid me out and they checked me, and they're like, oh, you're only at, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 centimeters. And they're like, you can either go home or you could walk around, like walk laps around to try to get you going. And so prior to that, like the weekend before that, I knew somebody who was also in labor, and she was dilated at 3 centimeters for like a whole week. And so I was like, fuck this, I'm going home. I don't want to be in here for a week waiting for, so I'd rather just go home and eat, and, because once you're admitted, you can't eat anything anymore. So I was like, I'm going to go home. And so she's like, okay. So they're giving me the paperwork to sign out. And then all of a sudden, I felt as though I had peed myself in bed. And I was like, I think I pissed. And then they're like, what? And they checked me like, oh no, you're staying. Your water broke. But I didn't feel the whole like popping or gush. It was just like a trickle of, like a slow trickle of water.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was kind of bummed out, like, oh, that sucks.
Like,
I didn't feel the
tsunami.
But then at the same time, I was excited that it got something going, So then they admitted me, and I want to say when I got there, it was like 6 a.m., and then I ended up delivering him at noon. So I was only there for 6 hours. So that was good, and I pushed for only 30 minutes, but dude, those 30 minutes felt like, no, motherfucker, that was long. That was so long.
Did you have an epidural?
No. So what happened was,
like, that's why.
So they admitted me, and then we were waiting forever for the anesthesiologist to come around and give me my epidural. And they were like, I'm sorry, sweetie. It's a holiday. There's all these babies being born right now. Like, we're waiting, right? We're waiting for him.
She told you that?
Yes, because I was waiting for hours. And the contractions were just coming, and I was dying, and I wanted my epidural. And so then anyway, finally, they gave me something through my IV to try to knock off the edge.
Okay.
And it worked like in between contractions, but not during the contractions. The contractions were still really, really hard. And then by the time they checked me, by the time the anesthesiologist came in, he was like, all right, let's get it going. They sat me over the table. I had a contraction right when he gave me the epidural, so I didn't feel the epidural. So that one I didn't feel, and I was like relieved because I remember hearing like trauma stories. And then, but they got me to the bed, and they were not able to give me my catheter because when they went down to check me, I was fully dilated already. So they were like, oh, we don't have time to like let it sit in. So I just gave birth like right then. So the epidural didn't have time to kick in.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So they were tripping because right after I delivered him, they came with a wheelchair, and they're like, okay, we're going to wheel you. Because normally after your epidural, you're numb completely for hours, right? And you can't. But I was able to stand up. I walked to the bathroom, and then I came back, and they're like, what? And it's because the epidural never kicked in until... No, it just never kicked in at all.
Never?
No, it never kicked in.
What?
Yeah, because I think that once he... So what do? They put the needle in your back, right? And it's connected to a tube. So when I went back in there, I don't think he got to put the epidural, like the drip of the epidural into my thing because I never got numb. So I felt everything. Like I was pushing. Ew. I felt the stretching. Thank God whoever came in, because my doctor that was supposed to come in decided not to come in, so it was whatever resident was on call, and then plus a million other people. And she was pouring warm oils to try to stretch me so that the baby's head could come in, because he was like locked in there for a while. So I could feel the warm oils. I could feel her little fingers in there stretching my vagina walls. It was It was intense, but honestly, the delivery and the pushing wasn't as bad as the contractions before. Like, the contractions with no epidural were so painful, more painful than the pushing. But what I noticed now that I have a difference is that you get so tired and like, you wear yourself out from pushing a lot faster when you don't have anything, because you don't have that numbness. So you're in pain and you're pushing and you're trying to catch your breath. And they were like, come on, you can do it. And they kept saying, he's almost there. And I just never felt like I was almost there. And I told them, I can't breathe. I thought I was going to have an oxygen mask. I was requesting one because I couldn't catch my breath. They were super adamant, like, oh, bear down for 10 seconds and then let's do it again, you know? And so I never had time to like regroup.
Yeah.
They were like nonstop. So that experience was not good at all.
The contractions hurt so bad that you're holding your breath.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, I remember, like, Adam took a picture of me and I'm holding on to, like, the bed, whatever thing, the rail, and I'm like this, tensed up, holding my breath, and he's like, you need to breathe. That's why it's probably hurting. And I'm like, no, I can't.
I need to hold my breath.
Yeah, because you're, like, super tense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was that. And then, so I pushed for 30 minutes and then he came out. But during that time, I had only wanted my mom in there because I was really young, but my mother-in-law ended up staying behind, sneaking in, and she was so funny. So she was over there on the other side of the room watching, and it was so funny because I would ask my mom to look because they kept telling me, oh, he's almost here. So I was like, Mom, look, and my mom's like, no, I don't want to look. And my husband didn't want to look, but she's over there looking, and she's like, oh, it's beautiful, sweetie, keep going. Like, she's my cheerleader over there in the corner. And honestly, during that time,
mom and husband
I didn't even mind it at all. It's so funny because I feel like if I wasn't in so much pain, I probably would have been like, get this woman out of my vagina. But because I wanted somebody that I trusted to tell me, like, hey, do you see the hair? Because the doctor keeps saying there's hair, but, you know, and so she was like, yes, you go, and whatever, and telling me how she could see the hair. Yeah, she's seen me exposed.
Did your husband cut the umbilical cord?
No.
You know what? It's so funny because he didn't want to cut the umbilical cord. Like, because I told you, we were only 21. He was so weirded out by it. He was like, I don't want to cut the umbilical cord. That's really weird. And I was like, dude, it's in every freaking movie. Cut my umbilical cord, damn it.
Get your shit together.
I know, like, man up.
We are now parents. We are now parents.
And so I'm like, if I had to push this kid out, you got to cut the stupid
Come on over to the
cord.
dark side.
And so, you know what? Thankfully, they didn't even ask him. They just gave it to him. Like, they gave him the scissors, and I think that he didn't even think about it. He was just so in, like, amazement that what was happening that he was just like, okay. Because then after I was like, you cut it, you nasty, you cut it.
Oh my gosh.
He was so weirded out by cutting it. He was
Wait,
just,
did you guys do that delayed cutting? You know, where you delay the umbilical cord cutting so that it gets like a little bit more extra nutrients?
No.
You never heard of that?
No, I never either.
So it's called like delayed umbilical cord cutting, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And you like wait, like the baby's out, but you wait like a few minutes until you cut it. Like you don't just cut it right away. That way they're still getting like that extra amount of like, you know,
nutrients
from
from.
But is that why they make you wait a little bit? Like they don't, like even when I feel like when they deliver the baby, like you don't cut it right away. Is that why? Or is this something totally different?
I don't know if it's like certain hospitals but they have that option of like doing a delayed one.
Is that a newer thing? Like with your second?
I learned that with my second.
Okay. You know, all these new things are coming out, like watching with a mirror or pulling it out yourself.
Oh, pulling it out yourself.
Kardashians.
Yeah, like I feel like she started that trend, you know, and now it's like popular. But my kid's older, so no, we didn't have all those options.
What about the makeup? Like I know a lot of people do full glam makeup before they have their baby.
Dude, it was 5 o'clock in the morning when I started Contractions. There was no makeup coming on my face.
Have you heard of those trends?
Yeah.
No, they have a makeup artist come in
and do their full makeup
glam
while they're delivering, and then so after their pictures with the baby, they're glammed
That's
up.
why they look glam.
Yeah, they said it's a full on trend.
Oh my God, see, now you guys know the secrets because it's unrealistic. You know, like, I'm not rich. I can't have a makeup artist. And I've always seen those delivery pictures looking all great. And I'm like, how do these bitches look like this? And then I thought, I'm for sure going to do my makeup the next time.
But no, with your other, like, your following kids, you never, like, did makeup or your hair?
I never did.
I did for my second one because he was a planned induction. I was able. It was in the evening. He was planned for the evening.
Oh, so you went all
so I was able to do my hair and makeup. So I did go all dolled up for that one. But I didn't get a damn makeup artist.
But yours for C-section, so
and I still went in there. It exactly shows you. I still went there looking a mess.
You have an excuse for your first one, but your second two, you have no damn excuse.
I don't, and I still was looking a mess.
I remember looking at my pictures from like my firstborn, and I was like, ew, I look terrible. So my second one, I was like, I'm gonna try to at least look decent in these pictures.
Dude, in my first one, I came home with my husband's t-shirt on because I didn't pack clothes. Like, I didn't pack enough clothes.
You didn't have a hospital bag?
Okay, so first of all, I thought once the baby came out that, like, my body was gonna go back and I was gonna be
really?
small.
Like
I was so
shirt?
dumb, yes. So I had, like, a skin-tight little shirt, and then when I saw that nothing changed, I was like, honey, can I wear your shirt?
So when's the other baby coming out?
So, yeah.
Because
are you sure there's not twins in there? So I had like a dark brown skeleton shirt on that was from like
outfit. You had a romper like we're going home.
No, I looked like a dude when I came home. Like I had his crib slips on and sweats. I basically wore his outfit home.
That he wore to the hospital when he had
was
the baby.
Looking real cute.
So what happened after your baby was born?
When you say after, you mean like
physically and mentally.
When you say after.
After the baby was born, whew, physically you look like a totally different person. And you know what? Mentally you feel like a totally different person also. But I feel like physically after having a C-section, it's easier going into it. Like, you don't have to go through all that contractions, you plan it, but that recovery from after the C-section is something like crazy. Like, it's so hard because you've had a full surgery where you've got cut from one side to the other, and now you're forced to take care of this little person where you have to get up and feed them and change their diaper, and it's like, how can you when I can't even stand up straight? So that recovery you definitely need. That's the part where it takes the village.
Isn't
where you need
the scar
help.
smaller now though, or is it still all the way across?
No, it's smaller. Like I guess it kind of depends on the doctor, because I noticed like when I had my first C-section, that doctor cut my incision was so large, and like I don't know if they. My other doctor told me that doctor was sloppy. And they didn't do it as nicely. They cut like a big incision. It was kind of thick. And when I went to go have my second child, that doctor fixed the incision from the first one. So they made it smaller and thinner, like bikini line. But so I guess it just depends. But I just feel like physically everything is like out of whack, and then mentally everything is out of whack too, because your hormones are all over the place. You're either a first-time mom, first-time parent, you have to adjust to this new person depending on you totally. So it's a lot of pressure.
So like in the hospital room, because I've never had a C-section, so like in the hospital room, are you able to stand up to go to the restroom?
You need help. You definitely need help. Yeah, like you need help. I remember with my first son, some reason for some way or another, my mom thought he wasn't breathing correctly. So she told the nurses like, his breathing is a little delayed.
Was that immediately after, or like that was already been some hours?
It had already been like an hour or so, and she was like, his breathing is like, which it kind of was like a little delayed, and she was like, something's, I don't know, can we get him checked? So they took him back there and they start running tests on him. Because they start running tests on him, they for some reason put him on an antibiotic, and they're like, oh well, we want to monitor him the full time that he's on the antibiotic, so we're going to keep him here for 7 days. Well, Well, yeah, while I was recovering, I was only recovering for, I think, like 2 or 3 days when you have a C-section. I was so messed up. It was my first C-section. They had took him to intensive care because now when you have an issue, you know, outside of the pregnancy, they take you to intensive care. So he was in intensive care. So I remember being in the hospital and I was having like all these visitors and I was feeling like all over the place. And as blessed as I was, like the nurse came in the room and I remember she asked my mom, she's like, who is this girl? Because she's having visitor after visitor. And I remember crying to my nurse and I was like, I'm so blessed and I know everyone's coming to see me. And I was like, but I can't see another visitor. I was like, I am worn down. Sleep. I was like, I can't. Like, I just physically can't. So she held all the visitors off. And the baby was in intensive care. So I wanted to go see the baby. And there wasn't another nurse coming in for a while. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go see him. I asked for a wheelchair. No one brought the wheelchair to the room. So I got up and I walked outside my door. I saw a wheelchair. So I was like, okay, I'm going to hold on to this wheelchair and I'm going to go down to intensive care unit and I'm going to see my baby. Mm-hmm. So I got behind the wheelchair and I'm walking. I make it to the elevator and I am in so much pain. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't breathe, but I'm like, I'm getting down there to see that baby. So I make it all the way down there. By the time I get in the room, you have to like check in and you have to suit up because they're in intensive care. So when I get down there, I can't even talk to the nurse to sign in. I'm like huffing and puffing. I'm just a mess.
Who's this
and
crazy
so she
lady?
takes me in. She takes like my blood pressure and everything. And she's like, you have to go back upstairs. Like, she's like, you are literally like, whatever I did to myself, I totally messed myself up to the point where I couldn't even see the baby because I was like literally shaking and in so much pain. So they rushed me back up there. But I just remember feeling so vulnerable and like being in a situation where I'm like, I'm so messed up. I can't even get down there to see my baby. So
what
physically,
did you do?
Because I just had a C-section and that's a full-on surgery, and I still had stitches, and I couldn't even stand up straight. I just overexerted myself and was in so much pain that I was like literally shaking. So just being in that situation and feeling like there was nothing I can do about it, it's a total different situation from vaginal to. I don't think any of it is easy, but it's so much.
That's
it's
a lot
so
extra.
much.
How long were you there for?
Usually when you do cesarean, you stay at the hospital anywhere from 2 to 4 days, depending on how you recover. So when I went home after 4 days, the baby still had to stay there for 7 because they had to complete the antibiotics. So I went home without my baby, which was another emotional drain because I'm like, now I'm going home with no baby. Like, I felt like, you know, like, I'm like, people are going to look at me and be like, why is she coming home without her baby? What did she do through her pregnancy, you know?
So when people would go visit you in the hospital, was there no baby there because he was already in the NICU?
No, he was already in the NICU. So they were coming literally, they didn't know though, but they were coming like
just
to see me and see
there.
the baby, but the baby was in NICU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so either if they
had
wanted
to
to
explain
see
that to every
person.
visitor.
And then every time I would doze off, someone would come through the door, hey, with balloons, and I'm like, trust me, I feel so blessed, but I just want to sleep. I've been through a lot with this first baby.
One of my sister-in-laws, when she delivered her baby, they wouldn't let us see the baby, I want to say for 2 hours. It was at least an hour, maybe even 2 hours, because they were like, we give the mom bonding time, the parents bonding time, time to learn how to breastfeed, and then time to just relax until the visitors. And as a visitor, you're like, are you kidding me? I want to see the baby. But as the parent, I like that perspective. I think that is so nice to have that rule at the hospital because you are drained, you know, and your adrenaline's super high because you just had a baby, but then you're like about to crash because you're so tired, you know. So
beyond tired.
So that's good. That's good that they have that at some hospitals. So for me, what happened after the baby was born, so I just remember like them putting him on my tummy and then them taking him and then to run tests. And then all of a sudden all these nurses came in and I started freaking out because I didn't did you guys have them count his fingers and toes? I was telling my husband,
you always look
count
at
his
it.
fingers and toes.
The
because
toes look like
wanted
there's so
make
many.
Sure. Yeah, that he had 10 fingers and toes.
I won't even tell you guys what I did.
What?
Go continue.
So I thought it. I don't know what I thought, but I was obviously was no good because they rushed in, and then apparently he had like low muscle tone. I think because he was wedged into the canal for so long, like where he couldn't wiggle out, and he was like exhausted from that. So like his little arms and stuff, they were all limp by the time he came out.
No.
Yeah, because and I felt bad because honestly when he was trapped in there, they kept saying, I see his head, but you need to push because he's trying, he's strong. They kept telling me he's so strong he's trying to wiggle out, but he's like stuck and he needs your help, and I'm just like, just suck him out with the vacuum.
Oh my
I was begging for that stupid vacuum thing. So anyway, when he came out, he was so defeated, and they were running all these tests because of his little low muscle tone, but then he ended up being fine a couple hours later. But did it hurt to deliver the placenta? Well, so you didn't deliver the placenta.
I don't know what that is.
Did you
I did, but you don't feel anything. Like you just feel like the tugs and stuff that they're pulling things out of you. But because I had the epidural, like you just feel like
I was actually afraid of that the placenta because I guess my mom said that it hurt more to her than the birth, delivering birth. Yeah.
Why?
So after that, I was so afraid.
Like I don't want to deliver, baby. No.
But dude, like that was easy. All they did was like just give a little push, and I was like, ugh, and then it like just came.
Did you
flopped
feel it?
out? Yeah, I felt it. It was just like a goosh.
Yeah.
Imagine the world's biggest blood clot from your period. You know when it comes out and it's just like. That's how it goes.
Okay.
But like huge.
Bigger than what we're thinking about.
But I remember being like so exhausted but so hungry because obviously Thanksgiving, I was prepared for Thanksgiving food.
Yeah.
Wait, she said it was Thanksgiving like that.
Hey, dude, Thanksgiving is my holiday.
Food? Yes. You were thinking about turkey and stuffing?
My mom like cooks the best Thanksgiving meal, and when I told my husband, please, I don't want to have the baby anywhere on Thanksgiving because I want to eat, and I knew
that's a prank.
I want this Thanksgiving meal.
So when I went in, plus I love food, so when I got admitted, then I asked the nurse, when can I eat something, and she was like, oh honey, you can't have nothing but ice chips, until you have this baby, and that was at like 7 a.m. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get this baby out. It's Thanksgiving. I want food.
Eat some turkey.
So I made the mistake by having our moms bring Thanksgiving food to us. And obviously you're not supposed to eat super heavy meals right after you give birth. Yeah. So especially Thanksgiving food, which gives you so much gas. It puts you in like a
and you cannot poop after and
constipated. Yes. So me and my husband had so much gas after. Like
Did you really sit there and eat all that Thanksgiving
so much food
at the hospital?
Yes, all day long because people were bringing it all day long. They were bringing us food.
Their leftovers.
So I just remember the doctor comes in. She kind of keeps pushing the blood, like blood clots and stuff, and
the gas. They're moving the gas around too.
Yes, it was so painful because I was so gassy that she kept touching me, and I'm like, oh my god, I was trying so hard not to fart. Thank God I didn't fart. But oh my god, before they were coming in, we were blowing up that room like crazy.
Oh shit! So they walked in. And so
by the time they walked in, they were like, oh my god, it was so awful. That was a funny experience that we had, but it was bad. So don't eat Thanksgiving food right before.
If your baby's due on Thanksgiving.
And then afterwards, you know what I would recommend though, I've heard. Because I didn't get much sleep during the night with the babies, they actually say you should have them take your baby out into the nursery so you can sleep through the night. And feed.
Girl, they don't do that no more. Was that with your first baby?
They offered with the first one, and I was so obsessed that thinking they were going to switch my baby, like I'm some kind of celebrity, that they want my baby.
But they don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore?
No, you are with them. You have to do your own baby stuff. They used to do that. I remember they used to you can take them to the nursery. I need a nap. Oh, not too bad.
Fuck your nap?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's
somebody had said.
I was gonna say I was gonna recommend it.
Bitches to have these kids. Let them keep them.
And then we had to stay an extra day because my son had jaundice. He started getting yellow, and then he had to be in the little Billy Blue light lamp thing, and that was another experience because they have to be naked in there with just a little diaper, and it was
so
winter time.
cold.
It was already so cold. He's in the little like incubator kind of thing, and all by himself. Baking, yeah, and he has to wear these goggles on his stupid eyes. Isn't that so dumb? You expect a newborn to keep these little goggles on their eyes, these little eye patches, you know? So it looks so awful. He's just in there all small with these little goggles all
twitching,
crying. He cried the whole time.
Was he so cold?
He probably because he was cold. And every time he would fall asleep, his little arms would wail, and then he'd wake up and start crying again.
Like, I'm still in this bitch.
So my husband would put his hand in there, and every time my husband would hold his hand, he'd stop crying. So when my husband would take his finger away, he would start freaking out. So literally, my husband sat there the whole night holding his doggone hand so that he wouldn't cry. And I have pictures of him with his little hand in there, passed out on the glass.
How cute.
So cute. I was like, Papa. And then, so I was able to bring my baby home. I want to say it was like a day later than I was supposed to. Were you guys scared to poop or shower after?
Where's that?
No, this is just my personal
Did I not print that?
question.
I was scared to poop. I remember I was scared because I had stitches with Landon.
Oh, okay.
I think I had
Did they cut you or did you tear on your own?
No, I tore on my own.
Oh, okay.
So I knew it was like just anything down there was painful. Like even to pee, like it would burn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember like they had to give, you know, the pills and stuff or whatever. They tell you to take more fiber just so that it's not like it's a softer stool. And I remember not wanting to go. Like if I felt bloated or I was like constipated, I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
It's terrifying. That first poop, man, especially when you have stitches, is awful. And they give you stool softener, and I just remember like trying to take a bunch of those because I did not want to be constipated.
Because you didn't want to even deal with it.
And especially that mixing the food too, like I was doomed.
I don't think I even thought about that. Like I couldn't even believe that they were telling me like, before you leave, you have to try to pass gas, and I'm like,
pass gas?
Yeah, that's what they told. Like you either have to.
So you don't have to
pass gas, either or. Like they'll take either one. And I was like, what? I can't even feel what's connected. Like, my hip bone connected to my thigh bone. Like, I can't feel anything. Like, I don't. So I remember, like, not even being able to do that. And I think we lied. I think.
You lied?
Yeah, I wanted to go home.
You said you pooped.
I was like, yeah, I farted a few times.
Okay, so how are showers with C-sections? Do you have to keep that wrapped?
You do have to keep it from getting wet. But you also have to try to stand up with blood. It's horrible. I can't even believe
you're still bleeding?
Yes,
down your vagina.
Everywhere. Yes, you are.
Wait, are you bleeding through your scar too?
You're not necessarily the scar, but you're still bleeding.
So you're still bleeding through your vagina. Do you still have that long ass period that we do? Because like you know how we have like a long period.
6 weeks.
Yes,
and
you
it's
still
so
have
heavy.
that long ass period on top of with your stomach cut at the top. So not only do you have that long ass period, you have that long ass pad with those holy ass panties they give you with an incision on top.
Oh,
yes, it's yes.
So do they come in and push down on your stomach too, or no?
They're supposed to come in. I remember being in the bathroom, trying to go to the bathroom by myself. I don't know. Why wasn't my husband there? First of all, let me go upstairs. Why weren't you there to help me to the bathroom? I remember going to the bathroom, but why was I there by myself is the question. And I went in there and I thought, I can do this by myself. And I got out, I went in there, and I got stuck because it was literally a situation going on, and I had to pull the little cord. Is there a cord?
Yeah,
I had to pull it for someone to come in, and it literally took like 20 minutes before someone came in there. But wherever my husband was, he came back, and then he was the one to come in. Maybe now that I'm thinking, he was the one to come in and help me get out there before someone else came in. So I don't feel like. I guess it depends on what hospital you go to, but I don't feel like.
That's not a very good emergency
help me. I know.
Call if they come 20 minutes later. It's like,
I don't
I'm
feel
already
like
dead.
Saint, help me with.
I was scared crapless to poop, and then I was scared crapless to shower.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't want to burn my nipples. I also tore, so I also had the stitches, and I was so afraid that it was gonna burn. I was afraid to touch my vagina for a long time.
I didn't touch mine for a while.
Or to look at it. Did you guys look at your vagina?
Even to wipe it after you pee, I would like just pat it.
Yeah, barely pat it. Because I would spray it with that little spray bottle thing. You know that spray bottle that they would give you? With warm water. I love that. Okay, so was your second or third delivery any different from your first?
Mine was.
In what way?
It was a lot more calm and peaceful. But with Levi, my water broke this time. And it was a terrible morning. Oh my gosh. My husband went to work super early, ended up getting a flat tire on the way there, so he had to come back and do all that, like with all the AAA stuff. So it was already like a bad start to the day. And then he had to go back, and he was super late. And I remember going to the bathroom to pee, and when I stood up to wash my hands, like, just water trickled down, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm pretty sure I was done peeing. And I looked down, and it was like clearish. Like,
and it was still coming?
Yeah, like there was a puddle like in between
like the
my
movies.
Feet. Yeah, but it wasn't like gushing, it was just trickling. And like it went down my leg, and I'm like, what the hell? And my mom and my grandma were visiting at that time. And I remember running and telling my mom, like, what is it supposed to look like when your water breaks? Because mine never broke with Landon. And she's like, is it bleeding? And I'm like, no, it just looks like, come look. Like, like I didn't touch it. And she's like, oh, I don't know. It might just like lay down for a little bit and see what happens. Like if it comes out more, right? So I laid back down. And I didn't want to tell my husband anything yet because I already knew he was having like a rough morning. Yeah. And so I like laid down, but then when I got up, it like gushed out somewhere onto my bed. So I was like, that's not normal. So I told my mom, and she's like, well, you need to call your husband and yada yada, right? So I call him and I'm like, my water just broke and I think this is the day, right? You know, he's like, are you freaking kidding me? I just got to work. And you could hear all the coworkers in the background like, is she for reals? Is she for reals? So he was like, guys, I gotta leave again. So that happened, and like I called, and I wasn't having contractions, like it just broke, but
so
I didn't feel anything. Yeah, and so when
did you feel like a pop or anything?
No, it was weird. It just.
And were you before your due date?
Yes, he was supposed to be born 4 days after.
Oh, okay.
So he was 4 days early. So he was on my husband's mom's birthday, and Landon's on my mom's birthday.
That's so
cool. It was like a weird coincidence because we were like, what the heck? But yeah, and so I called to tell them my water broke, but I wasn't having contractions. They're like, oh, okay, just eat breakfast, take a shower, do whatever you need to do, and then come in whenever you're ready. And I was like, oh, how nice. So, like, you know, I got all dolled up, ate a nice breakfast. And then, like, it was just a lot more calm versus, like, when I went into labor with Landon, and they found my IV, and it was just, like, a lot more calm. And I remember, like, I had the epidural, there's no issues, and the night before, I had eaten like a whole pineapple, and people were saying that induces labor, and it, like, softens your uterus, and, yeah, the doctor that had came in when I was about to push is like, oh my gosh, your uterus is like butter. And I was like, what?
And you're like, pineapple?
Yeah, so...
Was your tongue raw? Freaking pineapple.
So, yeah, it just... I remember, like, because I couldn't feel anything, she's just like, you're going in labor. And we're like, what? Really? And I was, like, laughing with my husband. She's like, don't laugh, because he's coming out. And he, like, they had to catch him, because when I laughed, it, like, he flew out almost, so.
So, ladies,
pineapple.
Eat a whole pineapple before your delivery so you can have a butter situation.
I was like, what does she mean by it's, like, butter?
Wow.
You're like, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
What kind of butter do you eat?
Sounds like a good thing.
Dang, it sounds like you had a way better
the second
It's the second time around
nicer.
versus the first time. I feel like it maybe kind of goes like that. Even me, my second go around, even though it was another C-section, because 9 times out of 10, when you have a C-section from the first child, you usually have to have them followed after, unless you find a doctor who is willing to have you push after. But it's such a high probability that you can have some situations and everything. So I never really looked to push as much as I would love to get that experience and push. There's just so much that goes behind it. But anyway, second time around, same thing, scheduled. But like this one went more as planned. We went on the date that we were supposed to go. Only difference is, so we set up 2 dates, and one of the dates was my mom's birthday, and one of the dates was my dad's birthday.
Oh,
Isn't that
nice.
crazy that either
For both
day?
of your last kids?
Yeah, it was.
That's cool.
For my middle son, for Peyton, it was either he comes on September 6th, which is my mom's birthday, or September 11th, which is my dad's.
Oh, that's cool.
So
who won?
my mother. Him and my mom share the same birthday, and it was kind of the only thing that was kind of out of the ordinary is that I think my mom was on her way to Vegas for her birthday, and I called her and I was like, well, I feel like I'm going in, because I think I was already dilated or something. So we went in on that date, and I called her like, you don't have to come back, but I think I'm gonna have the baby today. And she ended up turning around and coming back. But everything went as planned. We went in there.
That first baby.
Right? Not missing this one.
This one's on my birthday.
We went in there.
So wait, did you have contraction too or no?
Oh, I did have contractions. I had contractions and I was already dilated. That's why we went with that date versus the 11th date, because I was already I was already 4 centimeters dilated and I was having contractions. So we went in and things went as scheduled. We had the C-section, and kind of almost the same was expected. I feel like this time around though, I wasn't as afraid, or I feel like I didn't have as much pain from the recovery because I already knew what to expect, versus the first time I had no idea what to expect from the C-section, versus this time I kind of knew what the healing process would be, how it would be after I delivered, all that stuff. So that happened, and I didn't have any complications. I didn't have complications until after he was born and we already went home. He had a situation where we had to go back to the hospital. But other than that, with delivery, everything went fine with this pregnancy, and I kind of knew what to expect. Epidural took. And that was that. It was pretty much like the same thing without it being so caught off guard as the first time.
Which one did you almost die with?
That was number 3.
Number 3?
Yes. Harley's was, even though she was scheduled, my whole pregnancy with her was a little challenging. But like I was older, this was already my 5th pregnancy, even though this was going to be my 3rd birth. So things were just different with her. I had a lot of mental issues where I was kind of like thinking like either she wasn't going to make it or I wasn't going to make it. I just kind of always felt like sketchy with that pregnancy. But going into that pregnancy, due date, schedule, everything was fine. I went in kind of nervous. I had like very high anxiety, and I mentioned that to my doctor. Like, I feel like I remember going in there crying, like, I remember telling my husband, like, and my mother-in-law, like, tell her how I was, and if she asks her how her mom was. Yeah, it was that bad where I was like, I'm not gonna make it. And in there, the nurses, I remember them telling my husband, like, we're going to give her a little medication to calm her down because she's tripping out on this table. And I remember them giving me medicine, and I was just like, I literally feel like I was like, okay, well, I don't feel like I felt. She came. They delivered her. Thankfully, they let me do the skin to skin. And already that alone made me feel so much better about the situation, because I felt like a sense of me bonding with her versus I didn't get to do with the other kids. And they also let my husband do it too, which I kind of feel like that's why she runs all over him to this day. Kind of, sort of. But after that, after I had her, and they gave me the medicine, something happened and I needed a blood transfusion. They gave me the first blood transfusion, it didn't work. They gave me the second blood transfusion, didn't work. They gave me the third blood transfusion, and at that point they were like, okay, we can either give her a fourth one, which we kind of don't recommend because it's a little bit too much.
Like mixing.
And she could do 3 blood transfusions, and we just kind of monitor and see how she feels. So we listened to them because they said like a fourth one was, I guess, I don't know what the rules are, but if you get too much, it could do more damage than it does good. So we stopped at the third one. I remember feeling like really, really weak through the whole thing. I felt like weak and kind of like disoriented. After the third transfusion, a lot of liquids, IVs. I remember kind of also like blacking out a little bit.
Oh my God.
Blacking out a little bit. I remember them.
Did they give you so many blood transfusions because you lost blood?
Yes, I lost
during the C-section.
During the C-section, I lost a lot of blood, which doctors told me because something to do with the scar tissue. My last doctor told me after my second son that I had so much scar tissue, and they said like it'll be kind of chancy depending on who your doctor is and how soon you have kids after that child would develop how much scar tissue do you develop, and that could be bad for you. So I don't know if maybe I made it within the time zone that didn't make me so terribly bad to have the child after that I didn't have so much scar tissue, but it still did some damage because I had to have all those blood transfusions. So I just remember feeling like really like I felt bad. I really thought like I was about to pass out. Like I remember them putting oxygen on me. I remember them giving me extra medicine. I remember blacking out. I remember feeling like I'm not gonna be here for her. Like no,
talk
seriously.
about like
traumatized.
Yeah, you were already scared of dying before that, and then all that happens.
All
so
that
you
happened.
had like feeling something.
And then I go through all that. We finally get through that hump, and you know, in the room with her, I'm doing okay, but I'm still like, this was a lot. Like, I had no energy. I felt like, I'm not going to be able to take care of this baby. I can barely even lift my hand. But we got to a point where they were really good about watching me and making sure that I was okay. And if I needed, you know, levels dropped or whatever the case may be, they were really on it about what I needed. And it got to a point where they were like, you can take this other blood transfusion, but we don't recommend it. If you feel like you absolutely need it, we'll give it to you. But I didn't take the fourth one, and I just kind of, you know, mustered through it, and that was that. But after that experience, I kind of was like, yeah, this may be the last child for me because it was so much. But
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. But if you ask my husband, he'll be like, she was fine. She only needed 3 blood transfusions and passed out on a delivery table, but she's fine.
So the next time when you have another one, what?
The
possibility can happen again?
It can always, but like the doctor said, she was like, it could have been a possibility after your first one. You just never know. And
how it's
to
is
each
that common with C-sections though, or no?
It is. It's common with the amount of time that you wait. So
the longer you wait, the worse it is?
The longer you wait, and depending on how your pregnancy went before and how much, you know, if you it's to each person it's different, but the longer I waited caused me more damage.
But you had pregnancies in between.
They just didn't carry through, so I didn't get the full force of, versus I'm assuming if I would have carried through with the other pregnancies, you know, maybe since they were quicker, it wouldn't have been as bad. Yeah. But since it didn't go through full term, you know, it was necessarily not all the full damage that it did on my body. Yeah. Like, I didn't get to that point.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
Very interesting. So my doctor was like, before this, she told me, before I had my last child, she was like, well, if you're going to have a child, I would suggest that you do it within 3 to 4 years. I wouldn't wait any longer. And so that was kind of around the time where we were like, okay, we're getting to that point. Are we going to try again? Are we going to leave this alone? And then we made it within that time frame, but we still had complications. Yeah. So, and now we're back.
And now we're back.
Years.
And she's 4?
She's 4.
Oh, goodness.
She's 4. So,
we will see.
I don't know.
So, for my second one, I got induced on my due date. So he was actually born on his due date, and because it was an evening arrangement, I had an appointment. It was a lot more calming, you know. Like I said, I showered and got dressed and got makeup on and all that. My mother-in-law went to take care of my son in the hospital while my mom was in the room and my husband was in the room. Okay. So that was nice, and everything just seemed like a lot more calm, you know. And once they put the Pitocin, or once they got the IV in me,
you were good.
I started contracting on my own without the Pitocin. Oh. Yeah. So I was like, do I even need that? Because I'm already contracting. And they're like, no, you don't need it, but we have you hooked up, so we might as well just do it.
Make you contract more.
So make you give birth faster. So I was like, okay. So then they gave it to me. And dude, like I feel like within an hour, I was contracting like back to back, and I don't know if it's because I was already contracting, because I hear that's different. Like my sister, she got induced too, and hers just like took a full 24 hours to start feeling the yeah, it didn't work for her the same way. So for me, maybe because my body was already in the contracting mode, that it just literally hit back to back. The contractions were so much worse than my first one. But they gave me,
right?
Yeah, so and enhanced, and they're like literally, they were super fast. Mm-hmm. And then I got an epidural, like I begged for the epidural, but once the epidural came, it was so nice. Like I felt so good.
Oh, nice.
Dude, I felt like I could take a nap, you know, like it was night and day experience.
You don't feel anything, yeah.
The doctor was so cool. She came in and she was like, all right, guys, just push when you feel like it. And she let us put music on. And I literally pushed maybe for 30 minutes and he was out. But it just was different.
Did he come out to?
He came out to Free Bird. Free Bird by Leonard Skinner. Yeah. He really did. My husband thinks it's the coolest thing. Like every time the song's on, he's like, this is when you were born. Like right here. And so like he loves it. And so my son thinks it's so cool too. And I feel bad because he's the only one that came out to music. Yeah.
How come the other ones didn't?
Well, we planned that for my third one. We had a whole playlist for her this time because we had the same doctor and we're like, we're going to do it. But she like slid out basically. Like we got there in the morning and she was the one. My water broke in bed at my house. It was the weirdest thing. I rolled over. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning and I just felt like a pop, and it felt like a water balloon was inside of me and popped, and I could have sworn I heard the pop. And then I was like, was I dreaming that? Like, that's so weird. And then all of a sudden I feel the water trickling. Oh my God. And so I was like, Jack, get a towel. So he put a towel and I waddled over to the shower. And I thought, it's a good idea to take a shower before I go in because it was morning time. And I started getting contractions right away in the shower and it was burning. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even finish the shower. So by the time we got to the hospital, they checked me. Before I got admitted, I was at 7 centimeters dilated already. And so then they're like, we got to get her going because she's already there.
You an epidural with her.
So I begged. They were on shift change.
You didn't get one.
It was, no, I got one. But let me tell you, it screwed me up like the first one. So they were on shift change and I like begged and bribed the nurses, please just let the guy give me the epidural. And so he came in, he gave me the epidural. I didn't get any catheter for her because she came within 10 minutes of the epidural. So I felt everything for her. But because it was so much faster, this little girl just like slid on out with like 3 pushes and like in 15 minutes she was out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that was another one that I was able to stand up and stuff because she came out so fast between the epidural and but that one, the epidural actually hurt. Maybe, I don't know why, but like when they did put it in me, like it felt like they punched it with a knuckle and like it was just like you said, they were just holding it there. That's what it felt like. And then you feel kind of like everything kind of like numb, but it wasn't numb. Like, you know, like, because I felt the epidural with my second kid. That was numb. I had to lift my own legs up, you know, like, with my arms. And it's like dead legs. And this one, I could bend and wiggle and stuff. So it was a night and day experience. But hers was, like, a lot more relaxed. And, no, my second one was a lot more relaxed and smooth. Hers was pretty fast. It just... And then with her, it was just me and my husband in the room, which I highly recommend at least one of your kids' deliveries just be you and your husband, because it's like a really nice experience to actually just have it, which is you two, you know, and you don't feel rushed to like hurry up and let everybody else in. And I asked for that time alone. I asked, can I just have like an hour of like just us, you know, bonding time? Because I guess it wasn't mandatory for my hospital, so they did it, and it was really nice.
So how many? Because you say that it's ideal, it's good for just you and your husband to be in there. How many people do they allow? Because with the C-section, it only can be you and your husband, or you and one other person. It can't be multiple people.
Well, they allowed 4 people
what?
in my first
With vaginal?
No, I'm sorry, 3 people. It was my husband, my mom, and my mother-in-law. That was 3 of them. I didn't ask for more. I mean, shit, I didn't want any more, but I've heard of... I don't know if I've heard of any more, though.
Yeah, because cesarean, you're just getting 2. It's either the mom and dad or no.
Was your mom and
me and my husband. But with Levi, my husband went home that night to sleep with Len, and my mom came and stayed with me. Yeah.
But in your delivery, it was just you and him?
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
He says it's like the most awesome, amazing thing ever.
So... what advice would you give to a mom who's getting ready to have her baby?
I would say not to stress too much about it. Like, you can plan as much as you can, but sometimes your plans don't follow through. So you just gotta trust that the hospital's gonna take care of you, and just try to enjoy every minute of it, because it's something you talk about, like, in the future to your kids. Always. Yeah, so it's nice to remember every minute of it. Pineapple prior.
Pineapple make that baby come out like butter.
Oh, that's crazy.
Pineapple Express.
I would say take lots of pictures. Lots and lots of pictures.
Yes. Yeah, I think pictures, definitely. Yeah. What about you?
For me, I would tell moms, even though we're discussing our baby labor and delivery stories, I would say don't get caught up too much on other people's stories, because yours is going to be told differently. Like, what happened for us may not happen for you. Just do whatever works for you. Live in that moment. Have a plan. Even if things don't go as planned, at least you went into it with a perspective of a plan and prepared. Even if things take a turn. I don't feel like it will be as stressful if you go into it with a plan versus if you go into it blindly and then things take a turn. I would also say what Janelle said is, if you can, try to have that moment with you and the dad, and because it's an intimate thing. It's your baby, whether it be first, second, third. I think that bonding time with just you guys as a family is very important. And that's what I was saying, and my bracelet fell on the floor.
Yeah, I agree. Like, to have a plan, but also to be open-minded, because most likely your plan's gonna change, and to go with the flow. So I feel like when you're such a stickler on your plan, you get more stressed out when stuff starts changing, and that really, really affects your delivery too, because the more stressed out you are, the more anxious, and your body tenses up and stuff. It'll have like a negative effect on your whole experience, you know. But the things that you can make a plan with are your go-to plan of, like, okay, I'm gonna call my husband if he's at work, like a plan if your husband's at work. And what's gonna happen? Do I call you? Who do I call?
Have a stand-in?
You know, like, how fast are you gonna get here? You know, like, having that kind of idea and little plan can kind of make you feel a little bit better, because you kind of know how long to wait. Also, hospital bag for baby and for mom, because you can't just and for dad, you can't just pack for baby, because you need clothes, you need pads, you need big ass underwear to come home in. You need all kinds of extra stuff. And then have a child, like if you have multiple children already, to have a plan for who's going to take care of them, who's going to be your on-call babysitter, and who's going to bring them over to meet the baby. Like having that kind of set out will kind of help you not have to deal with that after your baby's already born. And basically just expect the unexpected, because it's a wild ride.
Right? And I also would say, too, if you have multiple kids, if this is not your first child, do something with your other child to make them prepared for their brother or sister.
Like a little gift from the baby.
Because that's a big transition, and you don't want them to feel like they're no longer going to be a part of your life, which they may feel. My son was bawling, crying that his brother was there. So I would say do something for them, or a book or something to let them know. You know what
I've seen is where it's a gift from the new baby.
Yeah.
So like, it'll say like, to my big brother or to my big sister or something, and then it'll like, there's even like a little poem that can go with it that says something like, I'm gonna look up at everything you do.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that. If it's not your first child, please
you can make
involve.
It special for them. Yeah,
for sure.
Alrighty, that's a wrap. Bye.
Thank you.
Happy delivery.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to catch up on our previous episodes, visit mamasmimosas.com, where you'll get access to all of our podcast show notes, our YouTube videos, and our private Facebook group, where we chat with you about each episode topic and host live Q&As with our fave mom tribe. Can't wait to see you there.